Hey YouTube, hey YouTube, what's going on? Well, I'm here making another video, and why am I wearing this? Well, it's a long story. Today I'm bringing you a poem by Langston Hughes for one of my classes this semester. Now, I know it's a little bit different than the videos I normally make, but just bear with me, it is a school project, you don't have to watch it, and I'll be back next week with my regularly scheduled videos. So, the poem I decided to do by Langston Hughes is The Jester. I think it's a very interesting poem, and it's one that I found myself all semester going back to reread because it made such an impact to me. So, without further ado, I'm going to recite it and then talk a little bit about it. Again, this is The Jester by Langston Hughes. In one hand, I hold tragedy, and in the other, comedy. Masks for the soul. Laugh with me. You would laugh. Weep with me. You would weep. Tears are my laughter. Laughter is my pain. Cry at my grinning mouth if you will. Laugh at my sorrow's reign. I am the black jester, the dumb clown of the world, the booted fool of silly men. Once I was wise. Shall I be wise again? Man, I love this poem. It hits on so many levels, and my first thought when reading this was it really deals with the duality of man. The good, the bad, and all these sort of things. And when you have a jester was a really unique character throughout history. The jesters were, normally mentally handicapped or, someone that irked royalty in the wrong sort of way. And they were made to perform for the royalty, but they had the unique ability to tell royalty what the deal was. They could speak, and a lot of times the court would just laugh it off. It's funny. It's you know what we're used to with the Comedy Central roasts, or what you will, the insult comics. But there's this unique aspect to this poem, because we're seeing both sides of this narrator, this jester, if you will. Here is a jester that it's a character that's supposed to bring amusement and happiness to the world, but deep down he's actually very sad. And this also comes in to play and reminds me of these whole series of poems later on that Langston Hughes did, for the dream deferred. And at the end of this poem it says, once I was wise, shall I be wise again? So here we see a character that at least he thought he was wise at one point, and now he's not. Or at least the world doesn't view him as being wise, because he's nothing more than a common fool. So here he had a dream to maybe aspire to more. There's always that connotation that comedians really want to do the serious work, but they're always thrown into the comedy roles. And we've seen this kind of in Hollywood before with, actors like Jim Carrey that dared to eventually go off and do something more serious, like The Majestic. Or Robin Williams did many movies that were more serious, but he can never quite escape that comedy nature. I mean, he was Robin Williams. We knew him as the man that could make us laugh. So this kind of goes into the idea of a dream deferred, really, that you know, an individual is forced into this life, that he's not fully happy with. And I think as college students, we can all kind of relate to this because, I mean, well, at the university level, you would expect that you're there because this is what you love to do, but there are classes or there are times where, we put on that smile, we put on that guise, if you will, that mask. And, but this isn't the dream we thought it was going to be. And maybe that's why this poem hit me so much so, because many times in my life I've had to put on a fake smile, and when you have a person that is an introvert or deals with severe depression as I do, it's hard to fool the world. And I think that's what this poem really comes down to, is here you have a character, Jester, that, in one hand, his life is tragedy. He holds tragedy, but the world only sees him holding comedy. When he wears his mask, it's the people see what they want to see, and they hear what they want to hear. And that's where I think this idea of a dream deferred comes in. And it's such a tragic poem. And it's reminded of that famous painting, and I'm blanking on it right now, and I should have looked it up ahead of time, but it's a pretty famous painting from, I believe, a Russian painter that depicts, a court jester, and he looks very solemn, and he's alone behind the curtain, and that's what I thought the first time I read this play. I thought of that painting, and I thought of that character, and then we have, going back to the duality of man, we have, it's not so much the nature of good and evil, but it's this nature of who we are, or who we are perceived to be, and who we actually are, who we are behind those masks that we wear each and every day. Because, you can say, an individual can say that, I am who I am, but the way that we act around certain people it's a guise, and this is, this is the mask that we wear. And all through our lives, we wear many masks and stuff, and that's what I think this poem is about. It's it's him saying that the world only sees one side of him, and really there's much more to him. And it's not just, I don't think it's just a racial issue. I mean, there is that line that I am the black jester, and that can be perceived as, Langston Hughes himself was black, and this could be construed as a racial issue, but it could also be viewed as another way, almost, for lack of a better term, emo. I mean, this whole notion that deep down this Jester is struggling with, his emotions, with his happiness, with his, he's the man in black. He's empty. I mean, he even says, laughter is my pain. Tears are my laughter, laughter is my pain. Um, you know, he seems to enjoy, when others are crying, when others are sorrowful. That's his laughter. Um, and that's how he probably reaches out to his audience, if you were. Um, but laughter is his pain. So when you have, these people constantly laughing at you, um, it eats away at you. Even if you're, I imagine if you're a stand-up comic, it must get grating, um, if nobody views you as being a serious individual. Um, I think of stand-up comics that are really a persona, like Larry the Cable Guy. I'm sure he's not as dim-witted as he appears in his stand-up specials. Stephen Colbert is another one. He puts on this guise for his TV show, the Colbert Report. But in actuality, I've seen interviews with him. I've seen videos where we see the real individual who's very serious, who sees the world a completely different way than the character he portrays. Another example of this is the fans of professional wrestling will realize, there's the people that constantly play the villains. And I just imagine at the end of the day, all those boos and all those laughs at your expenses, all those falls that you have to take for the audience, it just eats away at your soul, and that's what makes him the dumb clown of the world, the booted fool of silly men. And at one time, this individual was considered wise. He accomplished things, perhaps, and now all that's left when he walks off stage, or he walks, out of the court performing for the king or what have you, he's left to wonder, will he ever be who he once was? So it's one of those poems that stuck with me. And it's one that's going to stick with me, and I'm really grateful for this chance to have read it, to have experienced it, to have basically had all semester to think about this poem. And there's many poems I could have done, and there's many poems that I enjoyed, but this is the one that kind of haunted the back of my mind. And it's one I can really relate to, because it's so easy to go out there and put on a smile and fool the world, when really deep down we're struggling, and it's a struggle to keep that smile and keep that mask on, when really we want to rip off that mask and show the world who we really are. We want to step out of that mist of comedy and experience, other things. So, again, thank you, my viewers, for kind of, sitting through this. I know it's a little weird, but I promise my teacher's awesome, and this has been a really cool project. Normally I do podcasts. I don't like my face being out there, but it's for a good cause. So thank you. I'll see you guys probably next week. Back to my regularly scheduled podcast, stuff like that. So, thanks for bearing with me. See ya.